Hi, everyone. It's Gerry Dulac along with Ray Fittipaldo. Day 3 on the field for the Steelers here at the St. Vincent College in Latrobe. Our training camp report brought to you by Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci, mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers. They've stood up for victims of mesothelioma and asbestos for over 85 years. They get to the truth. They've been able to get over millions for victims of the disease. Go to sdklaw.com for more information. Ray, special day today for 3 former players. The Steelers announced their 2025 Hall of Honor class, and at the top of the list, of course, is Ben Roethlisberger, their 18-year quarterback. Right behind that, Maurkice Pouncey, who played 10 seasons and spent a great deal of that time with Ben Roethlisberger, which he was thrilled about.
Yep.
And then, of course, Joey Porter, who was one of the key members of that defense and actually emotionally fueled their 2025 run to the Super Bowl. Of course, they all wanted to get Jerome Bettis to Detroit and win the Super Bowl, but it was Joey Porter Jr. who provided the emotional impetus and kind of led that charge.
Yeah, I think Art Rooney, the second, called him the spiritual leader of that team. I think everyone remembers Media Day from that year, Gerry. I know you were there at Super Bowl 40. He and Seahawks tight end Jeremy Stevens got into it all week. And listen, Joey backed it up on the field, as he almost always does. I think that 2005 Super Bowl run sort of embodied who he was, because he did it on the field too in that game against the Colts in the division round. 1.5 sacks in that game. Peyton Manning looked nothing like the Peyton Manning that we were used to.
And Ray, if you remember when those sacks occurred, they occurred on 3rd and 4th down and appeared to end the game until Jerome fumbled at the goal line. And of course, they were lucky they won the game. Mike Vanderjagt missed that kick badly. Ben Roethlisberger, of course, made the great tackle on Nick Harbor when he picked up the fumble. I remember asking Bill Cowher when I did some retro piece on Ben Roethlisberger, his greatest moments when he retired. Bill Cowher said number one most memorable moment was the tackle in Indy on Nick Harbor.
Although I think Jeremy Tooman might have been in position.
That's what he says. Jeremy Tooman says I'd have got him. I don't know about that, but maybe he would have.
But yeah, I mean, Ben did the whole serpentine thing where he just kind of kept that play alive until he could get Harper on the ground. And you mentioned it before, to go in with Maurkice Pouncey, who I think Ben Roethlisberger respected as much as any teammate that he ever had. We were joking around before. I don't know that Ben would have gone in without Maurkice. Well, we asked Art about that as well. I think it was important for the Steelers to have Ben and Maurkice go in at the same time as well.
Yeah, and I talked to Ben Roethlisberger today about that, and he's, humbled by being named. He says you never want to take anything for granted, but he said what makes it extra special is going in with Pouncey. He says other than Heath Miller, he couldn't think of going in with anybody better than Maurkice Pouncey. All during that time, he always said when Maurkice retires, he's retiring. Well, he did end up playing one more season. But, go back to that fumble, Ray. The other significance of that tackle, first of all, he gets turned around kind of on that play. Ben backpedaling to make the tackle. But the Steelers had their goal line offense in, so they had a lot of big players. There were no running backs or wide receivers. We've seen that video for years of DK Metcalf running down the one player from 80 yards away. Well, that wasn't going to happen because they didn't have that kind of player, and he doesn't make that tackle. Maybe it's a whole nother story in 2005.
It's funny that's Cowher really respected that play, but people forget Ben got them out to a 21-3 lead in that football game. He threw a touchdown pass to Heath Miller early. He threw another one to Antoine Randall early in that game. So it was 21-3 in the third quarter. Looked like it was going to be a cakewalk, and then all of a sudden they need that big play from Ben, that big tackle, to help win that game.
And then the following week they go to Denver to face the number 1 seed Broncos. Ben throws 3 touchdowns in the first half, stakes them to that big lead, and then of course they go on to the Super Bowl. So then you heard people say, in 2005 he didn't do anything in that Super Bowl. Look, it started with Ben Roethlisberger in Cincinnati. I always remember Ken Wisenhunt, the offensive coordinator, telling me later that the Cincinnati playoff game is when they gave the keys to Ben and go, here you go, run the offense, because it was only his second year. And those were the 3 top-rated offenses in the league, and he outplayed all of them, the Bengals, the Colts, and then the Broncos, and then they get to the Super Bowl and beat the Seahawks. Yeah, he didn't have a good game, but it didn't matter. It didn't have a game like he had in those 3 playoff games, but they won, and they were in that game because of him.
He's the reason they got there. You're right. He didn't play great against the Seahawks, but you fast forward 3 years to Super Bowl 43, Jerry. I know Santonio Holmes was the MVP of that game, but Ben Roethlisberger on that final drive, the way he orchestrated that, the way he threaded the needle to Holmes on that touchdown pass, one of the great Super Bowl drives of all time.
Without question, 5 of 7 on that drive for 84 yards. And if you remember, it started with a penalty, and they had to move back a 10 yards. Santonio Holmes had 3 catches on that drive. And, of course, his catch. You know, they talk about the catch, Dwight Clark.
Yeah.
Santonio Holmes' catch was the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. But as great as that catch was, I always remember Bruce Arians telling me afterward, he says, as great as that catch was, the throw was even better. And it really was. And it was just typical Ben. And, you know, Ray, as that game's going on, of course, we're on deadline. And so you're not able to just fully sit there and watch what's going on. But when I was able to go back and watch that complete drive a week or 2 weeks later, I'm like, wow, that was really incredible. And then, of course, that 6-yard touchdown is just, remarkable.
Yeah, you get the NFL films perspective of it in slow motion, and you see 3 Cardinals surrounding Santonio Holmes, one in front, one on the side, almost like one shadowing him in the back, and Ben's able to fit that ball in there. Just a remarkable throw.
And Santonio Holmes will tell you he kicks himself because the play before, he let Ben's pass sail through his hands in the back of the end zone, so he kind of made up for it with that catch. But, Ray, to me, this is a great class. 3 guys, 3 prominent players.
Yeah.
We'll see if Maurkice Pouncey gets to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He should. You never know because 2 centers are already in. They might say, hey, we got enough Steelers centers in there. But he has continued that lineage, that great lineage of Steelers centers from Mike Webster to DeMarnie Dawson.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said it. On the field, a 2-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler. But when I think of Maurkice Pouncey, I also think of the 4-year captain, the guy who always stood up for his teammates. And what better way to think about that than that play with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph.
That's right.
A couple years back. He stands up for Mason Rudolph. I think if the officials didn't step in there, Jerry, I think Pouncey might have killed Myles
He was already assaulting him, and he got suspended for it, and he was perfectly fine with the suspension because his job was to stand up for his teammate, and that's why they respected that guy. Yeah, to me, it's a wonderful Hall of Honor class. Ben Roethlisberger, Joey Porter, and Maurkice Pouncey. The Steelers will be back on the field tomorrow, 1:55, right here at St. Vincent College, off Monday. They put the pads on Tuesday. That is when training camp really starts. For Ray Fittipaldo, I'm Gerry Dulac. You're watching Post-Gazette.com.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit Post-Gazette.com.